Hello everyone, today I'm going to teach you guys how to create the to-do list app in Vue.js and Bootstrap with everything stored in the local storage. I'm Diogo Veigas and let's get straight into it. The first thing that I recommend you to do is going to the Bootstrap website, which will be the first one, probably. Read the documents, and then with a quick start, you're going to go to the second, the include Bootstrap CSS and JavaScript. And with this, we just copy and paste it here. Now we've already installed the Bootstrap, the CDN one. So we are just going to put here some syntax and check that the link, the CSS, is going to be put in the head, but the script needs to be always in the bottom of the page. Another thing is going to be the Vue.js. I have already been there, so just Vue.js in Google. And the first one, the progressive framework, really good. Get started, and after scrolling a little bit, going to the quick start, without build tools, which will allow you to use the most basic tools from the Vue.js. Without installing it, we are just going to use the CDN of them. In here, one thing that I really like to do is putting the stuff not really too bad. Here, this script, I like to put it next to this script so it doesn't get too confusing. And if you can see, this div with the ID of app is going to be the div where you are going to create the app. This script here, which we have the const create app and the mount, is going to be where you have the logic of the view. And this script here, where we have the source, the CDN. And now we are going to have a quick look into it. We are going to click in the Go Live server. And in the Go Live server, you may see that we have already the Bootstrap, because it's really pretty, and the Hello View, because we don't have here Hello View, we have message, and this message is returned from the data from Vue. So the Vue is already working as well. The first thing that we are going to do is going to create the structure and the styling with both HTML and Bootstrap. So let's check it out. First thing is going to be change to do app with Vue and Bootstrap. And we are going to style it to the center. So class, text, center. A really useful class from the Bootstrap. Let's just put the div big so it doesn't get too bad. Now we're going to create a div with the class container, which will also have the width auto, so it gets a little bit more responsive, and the margin top of 5, so it doesn't close to the text. And opening another div. In this div, you are going to have the card. So cards, which is going to be a div, and we are also going to apply all these classes that I just pasted: the shadow, the padding of 3, the margin bottom of 5, background body, and the rounded. Well, I can show you guys what this does. It creates a really nice shadow, but it's not really needed. You can remove this. I just found it a couple minutes before recording this video, so now we have the card body, which will allow you to put stuff inside this card, and it will give us a little bit more of space, so it gets a little bit space on the borders of the card itself. And you are start creating the grid of the document. So you're going to create here a div with the class row. Since it's grid, you have only up to 12 spaces, and you're going to use one of 8 for. So the first one is going to be call 8, and the second one is going to be 4. In the first one, we are going to create something like an input text, input to do text, and we are going to comment this. It's just because it's easier to understand. And in the column of 4, we are going to create toggle button. It will make sense in a couple minutes. And here we are going to create a div of the class input group, and inside of this we are going to put both a span and an input. The input is going to be where you write. The span is going to be where you are going to see a label in the left. So the span is going to be of the class, just like this one, really alike, but after this you're going to put here text, and in here you're going to create like to do. It's like the little text of the label. The class you are going to apply to the input group is going to be form control, so it's the default one of the inputs, and we are going to a placeholder as well, which can be here goes to do item. And now what we currently have, it's this. We have here a small label, the placeholder where you write this focus that gets blue, it's due to the form control, and here we have a lot of space yet, and this space is going to be reserved for the button that we are just going to create right now. The button, which is going to be of the type button, not type index, but type button. Okay, now we are going to create a class, which is going to be the class button, and the class button outline. If I put primary, no, it is not button outline primary. Okay, it's not really good yet. It's not outline, but outline primary. And as you can see, we don't have anything yet. I just forgot to put the actual text, hide completed. And in this button we are going to hide all the completed tasks. Well, after this thing here, we are going to put here an enter because we are going to use it a lot of text here in the future. We are going to put here after this row, right after the grid, we are going to put a table. So table, and we are going to create a div called table responsive. So it gets responsive at least. It's not really responsive. It's simply you can scroll to the right and to the left due to the lack of space. Then we are going to create a table of the class table, and yes, they are not really creative, but it's pretty good at least. Now we are going to put the t head, not this t head, the bigger one, t head. There we go. We are also going to have the t body. Instead of each of them, we are going to have a table row, which is going to be a row of, well, content for the table. And we are going to have here the th, multiply for 3. The first one is going to be the task, the second, if it's done or not, and the third is going to be empty, because it's where we are going to put the remove button. Now, we have to put the scope, so it doesn't get confused, the bootstrap, I mean. There we go. And in these, we are going to put 3 table datas, and they are not supposed to look really good. Yes, here it looks good. And now in here, we are going to put a lot of things. First one is going to be the task name. The second is going to be the input check box of the class form check input. I believe it's like this, exactly. And the last one, we are going to apply a button, and the button should be of the type button, of course. The class is going to be button as well, but button danger here because it comes red, and red delete really alike. You see, get the image and then remove, and there we go. We've already created the table. And with the table done, we can already put a check on the structure and style creation. Now we are going to jump again to our code and check here the view part, the view component. And in here we are going to remove this message because we are not going to really use it. And we are going to start program the functionalities of our program, since it doesn't do pretty anything, you see? It's pretty anything. So, the first thing that we are going to create is the new ToDo, which is going to be this input text here is going to always being read from this variable. Another thing that we are also going to create is going to be the ToDos. We are going to create an array with the square brackets and the curly brackets. We are going to start creating the ID, which is going to be equals to the previous ID plus 1. But to that, we need to create a let ID equals to 0, which we are going to create a variable of the type let, not a data type, but variable type, and of 0, because we are going to start from 0 and going to 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. We are also going to create a text, which is going to be the name of it. It's a pretty minimum, and it's going to be learn how to make dinner, which is already true because I've already done it. But there's a problem, of course. I've already learned, but I haven't done it yet, and that's the reason why I'm so hungry. Make the dinner. We need to make the dinner as soon as possible, please. And lastly, we are going to also put here the finish video, which is going to be false for some time yet. So if you go here, we can see that we can see anything here. But to show all this array, in normal programming, use a for to run the array. And that's what I'm going to use here. We are going to, in the tr, we're going to put a v for, which is going to be a view component, the v, and hyphen for, which is going to be a for from the view. It's pretty simple. And here we are going to use not a normal for, but like a for each. So we are going to select the ToDo in ToDos. We are going to say that the ToDo is going to be every single item from the ToDos array right here. And then we are going to start also calling not from the whole ToDo, but from the ToDo ID, which in this case is way better, because every time you have access to an ID, to a primary key ID, it's always better to use it. Now, instead of having the task name, we are going to put here a ToDo text. And now if you come here, no, it's not like that. We need to put the curly brackets. I don't know if you yet remember how we wrote the message, or here in view, he wrote the message here. You need to put the message with 2 curly brackets, and then you put the name of the variable. So that's how we are going to do it. We are going to create here the todo.text. And now it is running the whole document. And in this way, you can show all the array of ToDos that the user has with only one table row, of course, automatically. After this, we are also checking these dones, because the first one is supposed to be pre-checked and it's not checked. So we need to also make something in this checkbox here. And to do that, we are going to apply a vModel, which is going to be creating a connection between this checkbox and this done here, like a variable. So we're going to put here todo.done. And now we can actually check if it's or not done. Well, right after showing everything up, we need to start creating, of course. And to create, we need to put after this data here a comma and add a methods property, which will allow you to create methods in it. And the first one is going to be add to do, and you're going to put parentheses, no parameters of course, and these curly brackets. And what we are going to do in this function, it's simply using the these ToDos, which is going to be this array here, and dot push, which will add an element to the array, and the element that you are going to add, it's going to be something like this, starting as false, because if you add it, it's because you haven't done it yet. The ID it's always ++, auto increment. Although the text needs to be dynamic with the one that the user writes, and this is going to be this new to do, which is going to be associated with this input here. And to associate it right away, we put here the vModel, and you're going to put here the new to do. And if you want to check if it is already updating, just put curly brackets, new to do. And if you come here and you write something here, you see that's writing as well in here the same thing. But what we want to do is actually inserting stuff. And since I don't have here a button or anything, I thought that it would be way better to put in the enter. So just come here, V on, key up or key down or key wherever you want, enter, and you are going to call the new, not new, but add to do. And in this way, if you write something like craft table, you can just enter and it's going to actually create stuff. But the first thing that I want to show you guys is that if you remove this V on 2 dots and put it at the rate, it will also create. You see? It's a slightly faster method when every time you have the V hyphen on 2 dots, you can put just at the rate. And there's another problem here. If you insert anything, it doesn't clear the text box, but you want it to clear because it's kind of boring just putting something here and then I need to remove this to write another one. So let's just come here down below and we are going to assign this new to do equals to empty right after we add something up. Well, since you are already adding stuff and it clears the text box, we want to start removing stuff, right? And to remove stuff, we need to come here, down here, create another remove to do. And this is going to be a little bit more complex because we are going to use the to do, this variable here, as a parameter to know what to delete. And you are going to assign the to-dos array as the filter, the JavaScript function that you are going to receive. The first component that we need to put inside the parentheses is the T, or a small to-do, unique to-do, it's up to you. It's going to simply be the item that's going to help us run the whole to-dos array, not inside the table, but inside this filter function. And then you're going to use here equals the arrow functioning, and we are going to try to remove all the to-do that's different from the to. Let me explain. If you find any item in the to-dos array that's equals to the to-do that we want to remove, we are going to filter it out, and then all the rest are going to be kept in the to-dos again. So it is going to simply make a delete. And with this, I think that after putting something in the button, which is going to be the iterate or the v-on, we are going to simply put here click equals and going to call the function remove to do. And in this way, we can already remove this, finish the video, make the dinner and learn how to make dinner. Of course, it will always be reloaded like this because we have here a static array. After looking at my screen for a couple times, I could see that the only function that it's missing is the hide completed. That's not nearly done at all. So we are going to create here another variable called hide completed, and this is going to start as false. We don't want to have everything completed hidden just right at the moment that you enter, so it just starts as false as always. And then we are going to also create here computed components, which is going to be really good. It's really alike these methods, but better for toggles. So filtered to-dos is going to be the name of our function, and you're going to return this hide completed. We're going to have the false and the true condition. If it's true, we are going to use the filter, because the filter it's exactly filter to-dos. It's exactly it, you know, filter. We are also going to use the T as well because it's faster, and we are going to check if the TD it's different from done. If the hide completed it's marked, if it's true that we want to hide the completed, we want to send to the table only the not done tasks. But if the hide completed it's false, which is the 2 dots, we want to send all the to-dos. And to make it actually working, because it's not working at all, we need to also change the button. The button here, the hide completed, is going to be a little bit changed. First thing is that at the right click or v on click, we are going to make some changes at some point at hide completed. It's going to be equals to the opposite of itself. As always, every time we click, we want to toggle it. We want to put switch on, switch off. We want to turn on, turn off. It's just the same thing. And after this, we want to also change the text of the button, of course. And with this, we are going to use here some dynamic variables. The first thing that we input is the hide completed, and then we need to show. The condition is going to be checking the hide completed. If it's true, if it's really hide completed, we want to have the text being show all. But if the toggle completed is false, we want to have the option to hide completed, because we always want to have the opposite function. That's the one that's currently using, because we don't want to activate what we are already using, right? It doesn't make sense. We want to activate another thing, always another thing. And then we also need to change this table here, because even if we come here and click in the button, it actually toggles the text. It doesn't do anything. But if you come here and change this to-dos for filtered to-dos, without any function mentioning, just this, right? You're going to create here, and the done is already hidden, you see? With this done, you can already put a check on the view functionalities. So the only thing that's actually missing, it's the part where you store everything up in the local storage. So in this video, no, I'm just joking. We are just going to come here to the data. Between the data and the return, we are going to add an if condition. And we are going to check if the local storage.length is equals to 0. Because in the case we never used this app, we want to put a sample data, because otherwise it will actually bug a lot. So let's just put sample data. We are going to put local storage.set item ToDos JSON stringify. Everything stored in local storage needs to be at the format string. So we are going to stringify in the format JSON, and we are going to parse it again when you need to use it right back. Now, we put here the square and the curly brackets, because we need to start an array. In the case that it's the first time that the user comes here, we need to really create an array, otherwise it is going to bug. And the curly brackets is just an item of an array. So here we're going to put the ID of ID++, the increment, right? Then you're going to put a text, which can be whatever you want, example task. And we are also going to put the done as false, because it's the first time that he's here and it's false. You can put true, but it's false. And to check if it is already working, we need to come here, remove this array, because we are going to stop using the static arrays, and we are going to put JSON parse, because we need to receive it and transform it from a string to an array again. Put here the parentheses. Now, local storage.get item ToDos, which is going to be the item of choice. And you're going to come here. Now if you reload the page, we've already got the example to do. If you come here, inspect the page, or F12, these arrows here, application, and in here in the local storage, you can see that there's an example already. If you have it like this, you just reload the page and it is going to happen again, because it always checks if there's any item in the local storage or not. After this, we also want to make some changes, because if we add something here, we actually add, but if you reload, it's not stored. So we need to have both add to do and remove to do storing in the local storage. And to do that, we are going to put local storage.set item, the ToDos, and here we need to do something like this. But instead of putting ourselves, we are going to put the ToDos. And to do that, we are going to come here here, the comma, now the JSON stringify, and here we are going to put these.ToDos. And this way, every time we add something, we are going to replace the previous string of multiple or just one array components, and we are going to put all of them. We are just going to replace them. It's like reassign. It doesn't matter what had before, it's just going to reassign. It's just like an update. And here it's going to be the same in the remove to do. So this way it is always going to be updated. So new by new PC, reload, it's here. But since I don't have money, I'm just going to remove it, and it's got removed as well. Let me just show you the application part. So buy a PC. If you come here, inspect, here the two arrows, application. If you come here, the IDs also auto increment itself. It is here 1, and if I add another one, it's going to be the 2 ID, not only the ID from here, but actually the ID of ourselves. It doesn't bug at all, you see? And here it's practically almost done, but there's another one change that might be useful for you. Imagine that you just bought a new PC. Reload the page, but after all you didn't bought it. You need to buy it, then remove it, and only now it is already bought. But if you want this to update on the checkbox as well, you must do something like this. V on change, we are going to call a function, which is going to call update done, and no, we are not going to use any parameters, and in the methods we are going to put it update done, and we are just going to copy this and paste here. Now if you reload the page, buy a PC, it's already put. Remove, if I add here, reload the page, only this is going to be updated because we are using the ID, so the name doesn't matter if it's the same or not, and it's already updating just by clicking on the done. So, hope I've been useful for you. If you have any tip, leave a comment, subscribe, leave a like, share to your friends probably. I don't know, if you have friends at least. Okay, it's just a joke guys. Hope you guys enjoyed and see you soon.